Welcome to Like and Subscribe Kitchen. I'm Josh. It's morning here, and that means breakfast. Today I'll show you how to make one of my favorite breakfast staples, pancakes. Now, this recipe is so simple. The only ingredient I don't normally have on hand for it is the buttermilk. And I've been told by several people that these are the best pancakes, and there's really nothing fancy about it. Just some proper technique and a little bit of science. But once you've seen how simple these are, I hope you will join me in not only never buying boxed pancake mix again, but in actively shunning those who do. Shame on them. That goes for boxed brownie mix too. What's the point? But that's a different video. Let's get started. We'll start by gently preheating my pan, and with that, if I'm going to be making a large batch for people and want them all to be served at the same time, I will also preheat the oven to about 200 degrees just so it's warm, and then I will keep a sheet pan ready to put the made pancakes on, throw them in the oven, and keep those going. If I'm not serving them right away, then I will take this pan and throw it in the freezer. And that way the frozen pancakes, once they are solidly frozen, can be stacked and bundled up together and frozen indefinitely. Though if you do freeze them, either freeze them completely flat apart from each other or put wax paper in between each layer, or you will have a solid frozen block of pancakes. And to me, if I found a solid frozen block of pancakes in my freezer, I would take that whoever made those for me don't love me enough anymore and probably want me out of the relationship. So really, it's a sign. Need a bowl big enough to accommodate everything. We will start by mixing all the dry ingredients. So that is the flour, baking powder, baking soda, and salt. And just to make sure that that's thoroughly combined in there. You don't want big clumps of any one of those ingredients. And then set that aside for a second. Then quickly, because whenever I'm putting eggs into a dough or batter, I like to mix salt or sugar into it beforehand. I will take the 4 eggs and the 1/4 cup of sugar, because nobody wants to be surprised when they're eating a pancake of, hey, is this a weird stringy bit of fully cooked egg white that hasn't blended in with the rest of the batter? Nobody likes that. So we avoid that really quickly and easily. So to that, now you have some choices. You can add, just to thin that out, add a little bit more of the liquid to this before adding it to the wet. Or, one step easier, make yourself a little well in the middle of the flour, and we will just start. Add the OJ. Oil. So the purpose of the orange juice in this recipe is to work much like the baking soda and vinegar volcanoes from your elementary school science fair days. Except the acid here isn't going to create a mess on the gym floor. It's just going to interact with the baking soda within that matrix of the protein in the egg and the starch in the flours, just enough to give the pancake a little poof and make them nice and fluffy. Edit that out. I don't like to dump it all in at once. I think it's easier to control a little bit at a time. And there you go. there is pancake batter. So now, as you see, I have my cast iron getting hot. I do not have a non-stick skillet big enough to accommodate that. If you have a griddle or something else, feel free to use that. This is just what I have, so what I'm going to use, it will come out with a slightly darker pancake because it's cast iron, but c'est la vie. So how do you know when the pan is hot enough? You want the butter to give that little bit of bubble like that. You actually don't want it too hot. I'm going to cheat and add just a little bit of oil to that too. You don't want it too hot or else your pancakes are going to burn before they're cooked through. But with that bubbling as so, we'll start with a nice scoopful. And it will naturally flatten itself out. And now the waiting game begins. So again, at this point, it's kind of a balance of making sure that your pan temperature doesn't get too high. You still want some bubbling on that butter, but you don't want it browning. And I think I might have gone just a little too cold because I don't see any action around the edges of that. There we go, that's getting better. So now what you're looking for are these little bubbles of air that form and then burst. That means the steam inside is escaping and it's cooking through. The internal temperature is rising. If my pan was hotter, this would have gone faster. Now for the big flip. Oh yes. So you see a little of the blackness that just the cast iron had picked up. So one thing I love about this recipe is it forms that nice little like crust on the pancake. It's not just a all soft mush. There's texture to it. There's contrast between the crust on the edge and the lovely soft insides. And that's what I'm looking for. I don't want a boring old flapjack. I want a pancake with some personality to it. And that's what these are. Every few pancakes I will re-oil the pan just to make sure that A, they're not sticking, and B, they form that nice crust. Let's see how we're doing on this side, and that looks like we're basically done. So, to the first pancake out of the pan and into the oven. And of course, you could use smaller pancakes too. These don't take nearly as long to cook. And many people have their pancake turners that they use. I like my fish spatula because it's flexible, it's good at getting under things, and boom, just that, flips it just that easily. Perfect. And that's it. That's all there is to pancakes. And I am out of maple syrup.